With all the commemorations about D-Day, I thought a lot about my parents, I thought a lot about what they went through, and about our parents' generation for people my age in their 60s. I think we were raised by older people. And what I mean by that is my dad lost his father when he was just 5 years old, lost his mother during World War II when he was in Europe, and he tried to get home for the funeral just to see her one last time. Then had to go back to war and go back to Europe. My mom lost her dad when her brother shipped out for World War II. He died of a heart attack, and then her brother was killed in World War II. They were older people than we were. We, for the most part, didn't know that kind of loss. We knew the loss of our friends in Vietnam, and many of you who served in Vietnam knew what it was like to fight next to someone and lose a buddy right next to you. But there was something about being raised by parents who had lived through a Great Depression, who had lived through a world war, who knew what it was like to sacrifice everything, that when they told us to do something, you knew that they knew what they were talking about. They knew what it was like to sacrifice everything, all the way down to their families. For many of us, our greatest losses have been when we had to bury those parents and had to let go of them. And now when we commemorate D-Day, we think of Mom, we think of Dad. I remember the one marathon my dad came to watch me run. I was sick, I had the flu. Had such a hard finish, it was in Long Beach. And I mean, Dad would say stuff like, Dad, like, he would come up and try to tell me to keep going. Someone was beating me. And I always knew something he used to tell me. He said, Eric, I walked all the way across Europe. It's not like they had jeeps for us to ride in. And he had. He walked all the way across Europe in the Battle of the Bulge with the liberation forces, and he opened the gates of the concentration camps. He knew what it was like. We were raised by older parents. So I think about what we gave our children. Hopefully we gave them a maturity to know those stories. Hopefully they knew their grandparents. Hopefully they heard some of those stories, and hopefully when they see the D-Day commemorations, they'll think of their grandparents, they'll think of the stories they heard. Then I think about how they're raising their children. They were raised by us, the children who had it much easier. And so we have the opportunity to make sure that they don't forget, because some things should never be forgotten. There's a part of us as we get older, we need to remember that this part of us that's older, this maturity, it's a good thing. And we need to pass it on to our children, to our grandchildren, to make sure that these tragic days that our parents lived through never come back again. There's part of being old that should be held on to and treasured and passed along as a joy. Possible to say, Happy D-Day. How do you say Happy D-Day? You should have heard my Uncle Glenn's stories, who was trapped on the beach at Normandy. Like being trapped in hell. We knew those people. They loved us. They cared for us. And they put something of their old hearts inside of us. What a treasure for each of us to carry. Let's carry it with honor today and with joy. God bless you, and thanks so much for the generation that went out ahead of us.